Jimmy Butler, he's a very interesting player to me.
Just goes to show the offense for the Dallas Stars could not keep up. And when the defense needed to step up, the Lightning's offense just overpowered them.
It makes it almost impossible for their bats to get going or have any confidence in the locker room when you're getting absolutely hosed on the defensive end.
He's like, oh shoot, I don't know where to go with the ball because I haven't been able to think.
It's their defense, man. Minka Fitzpatrick, T.J. Watt.
You saw Luka. I'm very intrigued to see how Luka bounces back after his first playoff series.
For next season, there are massive free agents like Giannis. And if Giannis goes to a team like the Heat, like I said before, I expect them to win the championship. 4 teams who could win the AFC in my mind, legitimately. Steelers, Chiefs, Titans, Ravens.
Stay undefeated when they face the mighty Cowboys with Garrett Gilbert and Tony Pollard.
It was a great series. Game 4 was one of the best games I've ever watched in my entire life.
So happy when the Astros lost because it would definitely be a 2020 thing to have the Astros win a World Series, and then you have to hear them.
Now LeBron's a 4-time champion, and Anthony Davis gets his first.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah, I was impressed by their game. Braden Point, Andre Palat, Nikita Kucherov, that was the best line in the playoffs, no doubt.
I think you have 2 established number 1 wide receivers in Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup, and I think you have an emerging star in C.D. Lamb.
Hey everyone, I'm Jared Sandler, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our MLB Opinions of the Week. This week, we're going to talk about top 5 surprising things that happened this season. We did the math. It's about 22%, 22 to 23%. That's almost a quarter of a way through the baseball season. So we're just going to do this, and we're going to go 5-1. Austin, I'll let you say your 5 first.
So yeah, the 5th most surprising thing that I think has happened to this point in the season has to be Nelson Cruz's slump to start it. While Nelson Cruz is older, I did not expect him to fall off to this point. Now he's starting to turn it back on. He's not struggling as much as he did at the very beginning of the season. However, it's still surprising for me to see Nelson Cruz start off this poorly.
So I do have a slump on my list. It's not about Nelson Cruz, but we'll get to that later. But my 5th most surprising thing is Ohtani's continued success of hitting. Like he got his few weeks ago. He got his first Grand Slam, and he's still pitching and hitting and doing well at both, which is crazy because I thought it would just drop off a little bit, but I'm surprised that he's kept pace, and that's kind of really propelled the Angels to be good this season so far. So I'll go with 4, or do you want to go with 4?
No, you can go with 4. We'll flip-flop.
Okay, so 4 is the Mets' success. They just lost their first their first series this season. They're doing this without DeGrom. They really went out and spent a lot of money. I knew they would be good, but I thought they would have a slow start, but they really didn't. They're hot right now as they're leading the division, and they're 24-14. So really impressed with how great they're doing, and their pitching staff was incredible the first to start the season, and that was without DeGrom. So I'm very intrigued to see what happens when DeGrom comes back.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially without DeGrom. This didn't make my list, but that's a good point. My 4th is the struggle of Atlanta. Atlanta, 17-20 right now to start the season. I thought that they were going to pick up, not where necessarily they left off, because Acuna was out to start the year and they had new faces of Matt Olson. But I definitely expected them to be over 500, and with them below 500 by 3 games, I do consider that to be very surprising to start the year.
Yeah, I was close to putting Atlanta on my list, but I didn't. I am surprised because they did just lose Freddie Freeman, but you got Matt Olson, who's not quite as good as Freddie Freeman, but he's pretty good as a first baseman, and Acuna was coming back, and they made some good additions in the offseason. They kept a lot of players, so I'm surprised with that, and they just lost Tyler Matzik, as he went to the IL for a few games. But I'll go with 3. Um, I have the Yankees' success. The Yankees have been really hot. They were on a 22 straight game winning streak, but then they lost, but they stayed hot, and they've only lost 9 games, and they're leading the division. And this was a team that I really was not quite sure what they were doing. They made a lot. They traded away Gary Sanchez, got Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, got Donaldson. They re-signed Rizzo, which wasn't bad. It was just like I'm like, okay, I'm curious what you're doing. But it's worked out so far. We'll see how it keeps up, but that's definitely my third most surprising thing this season.
My third is the Chicago White Sox being 18-18. A lot of people were talking up how they continue to improve, how the team's going to be better than they were last year, and they've struggled to start out. The Yankees just won 3 out of 4 in Chicago against the White Sox. Most of those games weren't all that close. The Yankees won 5-1. The White Sox won one game 3-2. The Yankees won 10-4, and the Yankees won 15-7. So most of those games aren't close. The Yankees won in all their games by 4 or more. And then the White Sox won their one game by 1 on a walk-off that Chapman just didn't pitch all that well that night. But they just have struggled, and it's been surprising to me because everyone's talking about they're the team of the future. They're the team of the future. Well, right now they're 18-18 and don't even lead the division. So yeah, I just definitely feel like the White Sox are up there with the most surprising things. And then for number 2, the second most surprising thing, this one was really tough for me, but I'm gonna go the success of Mike Trout. And I know many people will say, but it's Mike Trout. It's Mike Trout. I don't think people understand when you're out an entire year basically of baseball to come back the way Mike Trout is coming back is outstanding, and I'm not going to let it go unnoticed. Trout's hitting 325. He has a very high OBP. He has a very high slugging percentage. He's been very, very good. He's the second highest OPS in the league right now, and I'm not going to let it go unfazed. It's been a lot of people would say, well, it's Trout. It shouldn't be surprising. But whenever someone comes back from basically a year-long injury, they're not supposed to be the best player in baseball again, at least for a short term. But through the first 35, 36, 37 games of the season, he's been elite.
Yeah, I agree. He's been incredible, and it's just great to have him back playing. My second surprising thing is just how bad the Cincinnati Reds are. Like, we knew they were going to be bad, but the Reds threw a no-hitter, but still somehow lost the game. And at one
It
point,
technically wasn't a no-hitter because you have to pitch 9 innings for it to be a no-hitter, but the Pirates won a game with no hits. That is
okay,
true.
no hits. Yeah, but like their pitching staff did not allow a single hit, but they still lost. And at one point, the Bengals had more wins than the Cincinnati Reds in like the year of 2022. So that I was just surprised with how bad they are. So I'll let you say your number 1 first.
Yeah, my number 1, it was close between Trout, but I had to go the Yankees. As a Yankee fan, I was worried about how the offseason turned out. They lost some players I wanted them to keep. They got rid of some players. Uh, they didn't sign some players back. And then obviously they brought in questionable people like Donaldson, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Jose Trevino. But I've really liked this team, and I'm excited for where it goes in the future. If the Yankees win tonight and start 28-9, that's just like they did in 1998, where many people think that's the best team ever, and I definitely do. So they're on good pace, and while they still have a lot to prove, and after they won a championship, I like how they started.
Yeah, so I have a Rangers thing as my number 1, and that is Marcus Semien just having a rough start. Do you know his batting average right now?
It's either really good or really bad. I'm gonna go really bad and go like 123.
You're close. It's actually a little bit better, but it's 157.
That's
He has
not good.
21 hits out of 134 at bats, 0 home runs. His OPS is .432, slugging is .209. Like I understand he wasn't going to be as good as he was with Toronto, when like he was an MVP, he was on the MVP list, but he's been pretty bad. He's a negative WAR right now. It's only 0.3 though, but just shocked that he's had this rough of a start. And he got paid, but it's just a really rough start, and that's something I'm really surprised about. What do you got?
And I want to do one honorable mention. You don't have to, but I'm going to. CJ Crone. He is 317 batting average, has 9 homers, 28 RBIs, and while the Colorado Rockies are now on a struggling side, they're 2 games under 500. CJ Crone has really been really good. And if another team needs a first baseman, last year we thought the Red Sox were going to trade for him. Maybe the Yankees before they traded for Rizzo. I would not be shocked if CJ Crone is traded to a contender before the season ends because he is very good at baseball.
Okay, I'll do an honorable mention. I'll do Jose Ramirez staying with the Guardians. The Guardians giving him money, and that's just a good thing because he's a fantastic player, and I'm glad they kept him and they didn't just trade him to get more prospects. So I think the Guardians still have a lot of work to do, but they got Jose Ramirez to stay, which is awesome. So I think we can move on, and that will be the end of our episode. Thank you for listening. Let us know what surprised you so far this season, and thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.